All right, good afternoon, or I guess good evening, everyone. It is about a little after 5:36 p.m. here on a Friday evening, and we are all tracking and keeping a close eye, I think, on a lot of winter weather moving our way. A very large storm system, a bit of an odd storm system for us, and potentially, I don't like to use the word historic all that much, but this could be a very memorable storm system and at least a once in a decade type snowstorm for much of southern Illinois. Quite a change expected here over the next couple of days. This is a live view. These cameras brought to you by Northridge IT Services. We appreciate them for allowing us to use some of their cameras. This is a great view right over I-57. We'll be using this over the next few days to keep a close watch on the road conditions, especially on major highways, as we are anticipating some very significant travel disruptions over the next few days. So our storm system this evening getting its act together actually out across parts of Texas and Oklahoma and even into Kansas. We've got some snow flying there this afternoon and this evening. In fact, quite an ice storm expected to our south. Around here in southern Illinois, we are anticipating pretty much all snow. We'll talk about that here in a second, but we are anticipating that there will be very little in the way of freezing rain and likely even very little in the way of sleet. The one exception could be right along the Ohio River closer to Metropolis, but around here we are mostly expecting all snow. So I know that's been some confusion. I know there's been a lot of folks asking me about power outages and all those types of things, and we'll talk about that. I'm going to be with you here for probably about at least 30 minutes or so, trying to take some of your questions. But really, we are expecting this to be pretty much all snow here in the region. Power outages, I think the risk overall, at least from the winter weather, is low. Now, there is going to be some bitterly cold weather as well, so we'll be keeping an eye on that as well. Winter storm warnings issued yesterday, encompassing pretty much anywhere from New Mexico all the way to Virginia. It just gives you an idea the scale. I saw somebody a little while ago say, hey, this might be the record for the amount of counties under a winter storm warning in the United States. So it just gives you an idea of the scale of this storm system and really the significance of it as well. Again, ice storm warnings to our south. Those are from basically northern Mississippi. They do creep into parts of Tennessee and all the way back into Arkansas and parts of Texas. These are areas that are expected to have a devastating ice storm. We're talking about ice accumulation over a half an inch. We dealt with that around here last year. But again, winter storm warning means more in the way of very heavy, significant snowfall. So that'll be something we'll be keeping an eye on as well. But I want to time everything out as much as possible because I know that it has also been part of the confusion. So this is picking this up, I believe, this tomorrow at 5 p.m. So let's go ahead and reverse this just a bit. We're going to start this at 3 a.m. tonight. So we are still snow-free through 3 a.m. tonight. But here we go, into about 6 a.m., we start maybe seeing some light snow move in from the west. The air is fairly dry, so even as the snow starts to move in, what we call virga, meaning it's falling out of the sky and it's evaporating before it makes it to the ground level. So it's going to take some time to overcome some of that dry air, but it will, especially as we get later and later into the morning hours on Saturday. So I really think if you've got plans to be out and about early Saturday morning, I'm really thinking closer to daybreak, I think you're probably still going to be okay. But as we get later into the morning hours, we're talking 9, 10 o'clock. Let's go ahead and fast forward this. There you go. This is 11 o'clock. Notice the snow is starting to move into the region. And again, this initial burst may have actually be focused more in some of our, say, southern parts of southern Illinois. I say south of Route 13. But give it some time as we go throughout the late morning hours, early part of the afternoon. Again, we have to overcome some of that dry air initially, and we will start to see then the snowfall increase across the entire area. This is at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You start seeing some darker blues starting to show up there, and this is when I really anticipate that we start to see the snow coming down at a pretty good clip. I would say by noon, you probably need to be where you are going to be going as we head into Saturday afternoon. All right, so once the snow starts to fall, we're talking temperatures down here at the ground level that are going to be hovering in the teens. So whatever falls is going to stick. We're not going to have that period where we have the slush developing and then we start to see things stick. The ground is already frozen. So it is just not going to take very long before we really start to see the snow not only pile up on the grass, but also pile up on the roads. And because of the extreme cold temperatures, I am concerned that even some of the pre-treating that's being done, I think it's going to help initially start to melt some of that snow, maybe be able to get a plow underneath of it. But it is likely going to overcome some of even the pre-treating, even some of the salt as we head into the next couple of days. So again, fairly heavy snowfall falling here by 2 o'clock Saturday afternoon. 5 o'clock, this is going to be a time where we have quite a bit of heavy snowfall falling in the area. So this is going to be really coming down at a pretty good clip. Again, I really think by, say, 5, 6 o'clock, we'll talk about this here in a second, but I think by 5 to 6 o'clock on Saturday evening, many areas in southern Illinois already have 2 to 4 inches of snow on the ground. I think the 4 inches is going to be closer to the Ohio River, and maybe it's more like 1 to 2 in Mount Vernon by Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening, but you get the idea. There's already going to be some very slick roads. There's already going to be snow and ice everywhere. So again, this is going to continue. Now, as we move into Saturday night, there could be, there it is, there's a couple little streaks there. Those are little snow showers moving through, but there could actually be a lull in some of this heavier snow. I'm not really sure that it's going to entirely come to an end, but we might at least see a lull in some of the heavier snow late Friday night and then, late Saturday night and then into early Sunday morning. So this is 10 o'clock on Saturday night. We start to get a bit into that lull, but then it is very short-lived. After midnight, we start seeing the snow pick right back up. And once again, snow is going to be heavy as it moves back into the area. Notice you can just barely see it there in the right-hand corner of your screen. There is the pinkish color showing up. That is actually some sleet. So we've got warmer air trying to work its way northward tomorrow night and into early Sunday morning as this storm system actually tracks over top of us. As it does so, we're going to start seeing some warmer air aloft. And we're talking pretty high up in the atmosphere, even for this, maybe about 10,000 feet up in the atmosphere. Warmer air where temperatures actually go above freezing, even though it's down here at the ground level. In the teens, temperatures way up in the atmosphere are going to go above freezing just to our south. I think here in southern Illinois, this was a bit of a change today, but everything's kind of trended a little colder today. But I think that we, once again, are going to likely keep out of the sleet. It is likely going to remain snow, but we will be very close, especially in, say, areas from Cairo to Metropolis, Paducah. You could see some sleet mix in. Further to the north than that, from that, I really think the chances of seeing any sleet get much, much lower. All right, we head into Sunday morning. This is 6 a.m. Sunday morning. Very heavy snow falling here at this point. And it will continue even into the lunchtime hour on Sunday. I'm going to switch the model up here real fast, because that model that I was using was only going to go out for a little bit longer. This is Sunday morning. This is 4 a.m. And this model is a little bit warmer. And so we'll keep it there. But this model is just slightly warmer. Notice that sleet line creeps into far southern Illinois, right along the Ohio River on this model. But then it pushes back to the south. So again, I really think, and this was one of the warmest models over the last couple of days, but here you go, 2 o'clock Sunday, it's still snowing. And then finally, as we head into the late Sunday evening, snow gradually tapers off, moves out of here, things start to wind down. So let's talk about snow numbers. I have not adjusted my numbers from this morning. I looked over the afternoon data and I just did not see the need to make any changes to the forecast. I think widespread 8 to 12 inches of snow is really what we're going to see across the heart of southern Illinois. There could be a few bands, when we say bands, narrow areas, maybe a county wide, maybe even less than that, where we see over 12 inches of snow. I really think that that could occur in our area. Pinpointing exactly where it will be difficult, but it might end up being right across the heart of Southern Illinois. It might be somewhere from Murfreesboro, Carbondale, or Herrin, or Marion, or even Harrisburg, or McLeansboro. Somewhere in that area, we might see a narrow band where there's more than 12 inches of snow. Elsewhere, I really think 10 to 12 is probably where we're going to end up. Notice the orangish color here I've added. That is right along the Ohio River. Again, Cairo, Paducah, Metropolis. That's the area that I think that we could see some sleet mix in, maybe up to a half an inch of sleet, depending on how long it stays there. That would cut down on some of the snow totals there along the Ohio River. But elsewhere, I've went ahead and said, hey, this is going to be all snow. And I'm actually very confident at this point that it is likely going to be all snow for us here in Southern Illinois for the most part. All right, so if you have any questions related to that, I've got a few more things I'm going to run to. I know one of the big questions that has been throughout the day that I've had from folks is, well, is this going to be a wet snow or is this going to be a dry snow? And I wanted to also show you that. We were talking about that warmer air aloft, high up in the atmosphere, making its way into the area. But that's how we're going to likely see a dry snow to start. Temperatures are really cold. It is actually really rare for us to see big snows with temperatures only in the teens. Usually just the air's too dry. But here we go. This is actually measuring snow ratios. The higher the pink, the darker the pink up here, those are ratios. Look at that, 25 to 1. 25 to 1, 19 to 1. So when we start moving snow in Saturday morning, we were talking about snow probably moving in. Let me switch back over. We're talking about snow Saturday morning. This is right around lunchtime. We've got liquid, so we're starting, we'll say about 16 to 1. So that means that if we had 1 inch of liquid fall, it would produce 16 inches of snow. That's usually a fairly dry snow. But look what happens, all right? So that's on Saturday. As we get into Saturday night, that warmer air aloft starts to make its way into the area, and all of a sudden, we end up with snow ratios that are lower. That means snow ratios late Saturday night and early Sunday morning actually dip to more what we customarily think as far as snow. So that means that we're going to see the ratio go from 16 to 1, now down to maybe 10 to 12 to 1. What that means is we're going to go from a dry snow on Saturday as that warmer air aloft starts to work its way in late Saturday night and early Sunday morning. We're going to start seeing more of a wet snow form here, and it's going to be a heavy wet snow Sunday morning. So to give you an idea, that's what we're talking about. So dry snow to start, maybe going more towards a moderately wet snow as we head into Saturday night and early Sunday morning. Still, at this point, at 12 to 1, we're not talking about a lot of melt because of the surface temperatures. I'm just, at this point, not concerned with things like power outages due to the winter weather. We're not going to have real strong winds with this. There is going to be a breeze, but we're not going to have the real strong 20, 30 mile per hour gusts that we sometimes see with these big storm systems. So that is something to take into account. All right, this was a map I wanted to show you today as well. Made this early this morning, actually, and these are the 2-day snowfall records. So meaning the heaviest snow ever measured per county over a 2-day period. And you'll see, I know when we're here in Southern Illinois, there's a lot of folks that talk about 1979, the late 70s, just had some really big snowstorms here in the area. And you can see in Williamson County, that getting picked up 20.7 inches in Williamson County. That was actually measured just outside of Marion, by the way, back in late February of 1979. So we have had some big snows. It's just been a while here, here in the region. So again, here we go for some of the timing, kind of a summary if you're just joining me. What we're talking about, 2 to 4 inches of snow by Saturday evening. This starts pretty early Sunday or Saturday morning. By mid-morning, you probably need to be where you're going to be, okay? You are likely going to need to be where you're going to be hanging out, because I think as the snow starts to move in Saturday, conditions, in particular travel conditions, are going to start going down very quickly. There could be a brief lull. I really don't necessarily think that the snow is going to entirely come to an end Saturday night, but it will get lighter. Okay, and then it picks right back up late, very after midnight. We'll say late Saturday night after midnight, early Sunday morning. And we're talking about the heaviest snow of the entirety of the event, likely falling from Sunday morning through Sunday early afternoon. Again, it is going to be very heavy snowfall and more of a wetter snowfall as well. Some big old snowflakes expected to fall here as we head throughout the day on Sunday. That's the snow part of this system. Again, guys, if you've got questions, I'll try to answer as many as I can here. But I'm trying to get to some of these. I'm not going to answer your, hey, what's it going to happen in my backyard? I just showed that map. You can kind of figure out where you are on the map. But I will try to answer some of your questions. Yeah, no, I agree. Big shout out to JC over this week. She did a great job, a fantastic job. We had a really active pattern, and it was really nice, and I appreciate JC for filling in. I appreciate having somebody that we can trust, that's for sure. Talking about power outages, I've just had a lot of comments about power outages. I think a lot of us are a little shaken after last year, after the ice storm. But this year, again, this is more snow. Just at this point, we're not anticipating a widespread power outages. I don't think we're going to be dealing with a lot of big power outage problems as a result of the snow and ice. When we talk sleet, sleet is the little pellets of ice. It doesn't stick to power lines, but it does cause some travel issues, but it's actually probably the best of all the winter weather. It doesn't stick to power lines. We don't have any concern too much for that. This is going to be snow for us, and maybe a little snow, sleet mixed in towards the Ohio River. All right, so that's not for the entire day, Michael. That's just, that's in here for Saturday. Now, again, for Sunday, more snow is expected. The other big story about here is the prolonged period of cold weather. So starting today, we had high temperatures only in the lower 20s. Starting today, we're going to be dealing with 11 straight days of temperatures staying below freezing, meaning not the afternoon we're not talking about just morning temperatures. We're talking about afternoon temperatures not climbing above freezing for 11 straight days. That is also a rarity. It's actually likely going to tie for the 5th longest streak in Carbondale. Longest occurred all the way, I think it was in 2000, but that was 18 straight days. These are forecasted high temperatures starting tomorrow. So this is the high temperature Saturday, 14, Sunday, 17, Monday, 16. And those are the high temperatures. Look at the low temperatures. And I really think I might be being a little conservative on some of these low temperatures, really, especially Monday and Tuesday mornings with the snow on the ground. We could see morning low temperatures below 0. I think that is on the table here as we head into Monday and Tuesday morning. 5 degrees tomorrow morning, 11 Sunday, and then 0 Monday, Tuesday. That's not the whole story, though, guys. All right, as we head into Monday morning, we are going to have a little wind around. It's not going to take much if temperatures are 0 to cause some wind chill problems. And we're talking wind chills right now, forecasted Monday morning, anywhere from 10 to 15 degrees below 0. We stay there as well. Tuesday, not a lot of improvement. About 10, maybe close to 15 degrees below 0 in a few spots. But again, some very, very cold weather still settling in, and just a long period of cold weather as well. So, all right, snow, ice-covered roads by Saturday afternoon. I think that's pretty much a given here in the region. Once it starts snowing Saturday, it's just not going to take very long for conditions to go downhill very quickly. That means that especially even by Saturday night and into Sunday, I'm expecting that we are going to have, especially on Sunday, I really think that we are going to see that some highways, even major highways potentially in the area, are going to be impassable. It's just something we don't handle it well. We don't see a lot of it here in the area, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. Again, dry snow to start. I think we do see more of a wet snow, at least a moderately wet snow, start to fill in as we head into Saturday night and early Sunday morning. But I see some of your comments coming through here. I'm going to go back up to the timing and to the snowfall forecast. I feel like that's probably where many of the comments are going to end up being, is somewhere in that area of how much snow are we going to get, and of course then also what time does it arrive. So let me go ahead and run that back out here. All right, so here comes the snow, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. It's really starting to fill in, especially in some of our southern counties. I think that's initially where it's going to start. and then kind of work its way northward as we go throughout the late morning, early afternoon. Again, this will be a light, dry snow as it starts, but as we get into the afternoon hours, this is 2 o'clock, and notice the difference is snow really just starts to encompass the entire region and becomes pretty heavy here in the area also. So it is going to be around. Again, that's the timetable. I'll go through that one more time for you. Go. 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10, 11, 12. There you are. Really starting to see the snow settle into the area closer to lunchtime, and it's probably going to be a little earlier than that in some spots. But again, I just think we're going to have to overcome some dry air initially. Once we start to do that, that's when the snow will start to really come down. Joan saying her kids hope for no school for a week. You know, I think that just looking at this storm system, I actually kind of commented to my wife, I think there's going to be some schools that are out for all of next week. It's just the nature of this. Our more rural counties in particular, I think of Hardin and Gallatin and Pope counties, Johnson counties, where you guys have so many rural areas. It's a little hilly as well, so it can make it a little more difficult to travel. I think it's possible. I don't like speaking for schools, but I think it is possible that if everything verifies, everything plays out like we think it's going to, that there are going to be some schools in Southern Illinois that are out all of next week. All right, so that's kind of the timetable for things. We'll go back to the forecast, what we're expecting here. I mentioned this earlier. I really haven't changed my forecast very much at all over the last 24 hours, kind of leaving it at the 8 to 12 inches. Be honest, I mentioned earlier we could see a little more than that in a few spots, but it would be somewhat isolated and likely in a kind of some narrow streaks across the area. It's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly where that would be, but could end up being right across the heart of Southern Illinois. Could end up Murfreesboro, Carbondale, Marion. That's been really the trend over the last couple of days, kind of shift everything a little further to the north. 2 days ago, it looked like maybe the heaviest would occur right along the Ohio. Today, maybe a little bit further to the north, but whether it's 10 inches, 12 inches, or if it's 15 inches, I really think that here in the area, once you get above, say, 6 to 8 inches, the impacts are kind of all the same. That means travel's not moving very much. People are struggling to get from one point to another, and even major highways are generally covered. All right. When all this started, Franklin County was too far north. Yeah, that's kind of how things went. This one was really a big shift over the last week. Watch this thing go from drier air coming in from the north, and really it was more of a timing thing where we had the drier air. We initially thought maybe this would come in Saturday, and if that had been the case, it would be more and more struggle. Like, yeah, we're going to see some snow, but had the bulk of the snow came in on Saturday, it'd be more of a struggle to overcome the high pressure. By Sunday, that high is east of us, and that's one of the reasons allowed this thing to come on in here. Yep, Heather, I'm getting to your question real quick here related to power outages. Again, I know that I've heard a lot of people concerned about that. And, you know, as far as the power outage concern goes, really here in Southern Illinois, it is going to be a snow event. And most of this is going to be kind of a dry to moderately dry snow. So really, and we're not expecting a lot of wind. There's going to be a little wind, but nothing major. So I really think that at least from the winter weather, from the ice and the snow, the risk for power outages is pretty low. This is not an ice storm like what we saw last year. We had those power outages for days upon days in some areas. We're just not expecting that. Yeah, frost cracking with trees and low temperatures. Can't rule it out. I'll tell you, Nick, I saw a post earlier this week talking about exploding trees or something like that across the upper Midwest. And boy, I just have a hard time believing that's actually even real. Um, Maybe it is, but I've never heard of that. And I find it hard to believe that some of the areas in the upper Midwest are going to be seeing exploding trees when they're used to, you know, seeing temperatures that are well below zero. There's the question, risk of it. No, I don't think we're going to see any exploding trees around here, at least not from the cold weather. Becky asking where the ice line is. Yeah, good question. Let me see if I can pull some of that stuff up here for you guys. I know that there's a lot of folks that do travel here in the area. I'm going to go ahead and try to maybe trying to travel southward. I'll tell you, this is going to be quite an ice storm for areas to our south. So be thankful. Snow is a little easier for us to deal with, as we saw last year. Snow is a little bit easier to deal with. Let me see if I can switch this over so you guys can see this. There it is. All right, so that ice line, not even a little bit larger. If I... There we go. All right, so the ice line as we head into Saturday night, notice the ice line just stays south of southern Illinois. The sleet line in this model in particular even basically stays south of southern Illinois, but western Tennessee, back into Arkansas, northern Mississippi, tremendous amounts of ice expected across those areas. We just don't see that up here. We're too far north. We're going to end up in all the snow. So that's some good news for us, as we don't need an ice storm. We had that last year. We saw the impacts from it. Of course, I'll be keeping an eye on this and appreciate all your support as well. You guys can track all this using the radar, the interactive radar right there on the Nick Housen weather app, free for download. Appreciate all your support there. Go back to some of the timing. I know that that's another question you guys have coming up. Summer asking, when's the best time to build a snowman? Sunday. Sunday is going to be a great day to build snowmen. We haven't had that around here, Summer. You know, I know our kids have tried and tried and tried the last few years, but we've either had a really dry snow or we just haven't had enough of it. So I know there's a lot of kids, including my own, that are kind of looking forward to maybe trying to build a good snowman out of this stuff. All right, let me see if I go back to the timing here. All right. Run this back just a little bit. There's the timing that we've been showing, really initially falling, starting in some of our southern counties. That's been a general trend. I think that in this area, at least in this initial band, as we head into Saturday afternoon and Saturday night, it's probably going to be a little heavier here initially. But then as we go into the early part of the afternoon, it really starts to fill in. And again, give or take a few hours on this. So 2 o'clock, well, it might be noon for some. But it gives you an idea just that as we get later and later into the morning hours, chances for snow are going to be going up. And again, temperatures are just going to be so cold. Ground is already frozen, so we don't have to worry about, hey, it's going to take a little while for the ground to freeze. Not the case this time. It is going to be frozen. It is going to stay frozen, and whatever falls is going to accumulate. Rick asking, hey, is it okay to come from St. Louis to Carbondale tomorrow night by 10 o'clock? Boy, I tell you what, it could be really a tough travel. I'm not going to tell you not to do it. Really let everybody kind of make their own decisions. I don't like to tell you, hey, you should or you shouldn't do this. But gosh, it could be kind of a mess traveling from St. Louis to here, Carbondale at 10 o'clock at night on Saturday night. Snow is going to be falling. I really think I mentioned already, let me show you back to the timing here, 2 to 4 inches of snow down here, probably by that point, especially as you say you get closer south of Pinckneyville, south of DuQuoin. I think we're literally looking at 2 to 4 inches already by Saturday evening. So, gosh, it could be a really slow travel and could be a really difficult travel from St. Louis. All right. Well, guys, I just wanted to give you guys as much of a heads up as I could. I know there's been some confusion. I've seen some of your questions on some of my other posts about timing, and also some confusion just related to the wetness, the dryness of the snow. Are we going to see power outages? Hopefully we're able to answer some of those. So again, I'll run through everything real quick once again. 8 to 12 inches. Starts Saturday morning. Mid to late morning is when it starts to move in, and really fills in and becomes fairly heavy Saturday afternoon. Initially starts as a dry snow. Saturday night, early Sunday morning starts to become more of a wet snow. Warmer air aloft starts to make its way into our area. Even though it's going to be really cold down here at the ground level, temperatures are warmer above us. So that is going to allow the snow to become a little heavier, a little wetter. Some areas along the Ohio River could even see some sleet briefly mix in Saturday night, early Sunday morning. The heaviest snow we are expecting to fall during the day on Sunday, especially Sunday morning. Some of the snow could be very, very heavy. Melissa asking, is there a chance for it to be blizzard-like conditions? There's going to be some blowing snow around. For us to have blizzard conditions, I think you have to have 25 or 30 mile per hour winds. I don't see that with this system, but there will likely be some blowing around, especially areas that don't have many hills. So areas, say, from along and north of Route 13, we could see some blowing snow in a few areas, maybe even some drifts and ditches and things like that. But we're not expecting really strong winds with this storm system. Yeah, drifting definitely still it is a possibility. Beth asking about visibility. I mean, visibility is probably going to drop. I don't think it's near whiteout conditions or anything like that, but visibility is going to be much lower as the heavy snow is moving in on Sunday morning in particular. But not anticipating whiteout conditions due to blowing snow and all of that. But it will be a pretty nasty snow. And again, just to really encourage folks that if you don't have to be out and about, don't be out and about, especially by tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow night, and it's through the day on Sunday. You don't have to be out. It's pretty simple. Don't be out. And again, I really anticipate that we will see a lot of school closures early next week, if not some schools staying closed all week as a result of this. These are big snow numbers for us here in Southern Illinois. We don't handle it as well as they do further to the north. So when we start talking 10 to 12 inches of snow, that's a significant amount of snow and can cause even major highways. Route 13, I-57, I-24 can even cause major highways, I-64, to become impassable at times. All right, guys, I'm going to hop on off of here. I've actually got some Louis P&R Italian beef over here in the crock pot, so I'm going to try to grab some dinner. But you guys keep trying to answer, leave questions if you've got them. And I will try to answer as much as I can throughout the evening. Try to maybe still have one more post this evening, kind of breaking everything down before the snow starts to really start to move in tomorrow. But appreciate you guys joining us this afternoon and this evening. Stay safe, stay warm. Again, very big winter storm heading our way here through the weekend.